Ooh, it's a swelter today. I'm not quite sure what the temperature is, so I've not got the dash on to see. I'm also in my wife's car today rather than my own. It's a little smaller car as they're away. So yeah, a little bit of a different view, but obviously still a car, so not that much different. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and all that kind of stuff. Also got a bit of a red nose today. So I kind of thought long and hard this, and I actually did a video last night because I was testing out some webcam software, but to be honest, it was a bit pants, shall we say. I have a Brio 4K webcam which I've had for a while, so it plays the music in their car load. Hopefully that's not going to overview on that. Anyway, yeah, so but the software was pants. It wouldn't go into HD unless you paid about 100 quid for the software, and I'm like, no, because I wanted to blur out the background because my office space at home is a little bit full, shall we say. Anyway, I won't talk about the same subject. I might talk about that another time, but as I was walking around, it kind of made me think about testing as a developer. And by the way, if you hear noises, because I've got the windows open because it's so hot. Anyway, the thing is that I remember, and I may have commented on this in the past, but I remember sort of the first big role that I had. It was actually the second role out of university, because the first role I was only in for a couple of months. But the first task I had on there, the first 3 to 6 months, because after that it changed, was to help sign off the bit of the product that I was assigned to, and it was all manual sort of test and sort of customer kind of verification, stuff like that. Back then, it was, I mean, we're talking sort of about 1997, early 98, so not far off 30 years ago now. But the software, what it did, it recorded data, and you could play back that data on the screen. It was a voice and video recording, and what they wanted to do, I wanted to show that the system worked, so they got me to help find a bit of segment, by writing the tool segment on some tape that actually wasn't corrupted, because a lot of the time it had issues with certain things and things would get corrupted. And then they used that data to show that it could record and play back. Yeah, not the best these days. I mean, I think that after that the system had a lot more rework, and it did eventually work quite well. But it's quite a dubious kind of release these days. It was very much cowboys and Indians and as in bows and arrows. Back then, it was Wild West. That's the word I was trying to think of, Wild West. And yeah, I'm quite thankful that today we develop with a much more solid system and test in mind. Some people do the test-driven development. I have worked in an environment supposed to be test-driven. It wasn't. But the majority now, because of the way we develop, most companies develop and obviously straight into well, I say straight into a repository. Obviously, you have your own branch, and then you commit to that branch when you do some work, and then you merge with the main branch. And not all, in some cases, when you do a merge, it gets built. Obviously, that doesn't happen with every single. It depends on the environment. But when it does get built, whether it be through that merge or whether you are doing a build where it's going, say, from merge to test, because it may be that part of like, say, using Jenkins to build. And quite often, as part of that, I say quite often, most of the time I believe, it'll go through a test cycle as part of the build and release. Usually tests that either you have written or have been written in the past for your, basically the system you're working on. Usually, most times if you write a new segment of code, as part of that release, you have to then release the tests because there's a percentage of pass that has to happen, and if it doesn't go through all the streams, threads, whatever you want to call it, of code, then it doesn't pass that. So yeah, I'm quite thankful that we now have this more solid, dependable platform system that when you do some development, it gets tested before it's released. I've said it in the past as well about where I've had to support products that weren't tested and have had issues. But yeah, it's a much better environment these days for development and release than it used to be. Although that said, some could argue that there was a lot more freedom back then to do new things. But yeah, it was very much the Wild West, doing sometimes a little bit dubious things to get things released. So we say, yeah. So there we go, a bit more history from my perspective, things I've seen, and it's not the one place I've seen that happen, it's numerous places. But yeah, hopefully these days, if you're in the development world, you follow a strict, I won't say agile. Agile is always one of those, but a strict release cycle where testing is a big part of what you do. All right, thanks for listening to this one, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye for now.